So we'll start quickly here in this way while I talk, some other people are able to join. So welcome everyone to Cobalt's pre-IBC 2022 webinar. It's wonderful to see the interest to join us and to learn about the latest Cobalt solutions and products today. We're really, really excited about getting together at IBC. It was wonderful to go to NAB and see so many of you. And we're really hoping all of you will be in Amsterdam and we can, meet face to face and continue discussions there. So thanks again for joining us. I just wanted to mention a few things. This is going to be extremely busy show for Cobalt. On Thursday, September 8th, Cobalt will be participating at a panel at 3:00 p.m. with the SVG Europe series of sessions. So that's on Thursday. On Friday, Cobalt would be at a media roundtable with Technicolor, also at 3 p.m. regarding the state of HDR in Europe. So that'll be exciting, and it's a really nice discussion with folks that are in the ecosystem, this HDR ecosystem, and they release lots of results and thoughts and things. So we're going to be, forwarding and promoting that after the event is over. On Saturday, September 10th, we're going to be speaking. There's a presentation at the IP Showcase Theater. Cobalt's presentation will be an overview on RIST Relay, and it will take place again on Saturday, the 10th at 12:30 p.m. at the IP Showcase Theater. And on Sunday, the most exciting is the cocktail reception. We are going to be hosting the RIST cocktail reception at Cobalt's booth. So our booth is in Hall 10 and it's B44. For those of you attending the show, please make a note to come and see us at 5 p.m. It is a cocktail for the RIST community, and RIST stands for Reliable Internet Stream Transport. For those of you who don't know, this low latency, reliable, secure contribution over the internet protocol that Cobalt is a big proposer of. So anyway, we're going to be meeting everybody interested in learning more about RIST at the cocktail reception party at 5 p.m. on Sunday. So there's all kinds of other things going on. We have several people at the booth waiting for you and for your customers. So come and see us. And I will leave you here now with Dr. Ciro Noronha, who is our Executive Vice President of Engineering, and Chris Garcia, who had sales for the Western US and all Latin America. So leaving this with you now, Ciro, if you guys have any questions, we're all friends here. It's the Cobalt family and friends here. So please feel free to stop and ask questions anytime, or to type in the chat box, and I'll be monitoring, and you'll be able to bring the questions to the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susanna. So thank you, and welcome to the our pre-IBC webinar. So what are we going to be talking about today? We'll give you an update on the SafeLink Gateway. We'll give you an overview on our Indigo Sept 2110 solution. We'll talk about the exciting new Dante support for the 9904 UDX, which you had, and the 9905 MPX, which is new. We'll talk about the Reversible ITM using advanced HDR by Technicolor, is one of the demos in the booth. We'll do a review on the OpenGear form factor PC, the OG PC, and we'll talk about some other product updates. So let me jump right into it, the SafeLink Gateway. So what's SafeLink? This business of using the internet for video contribution is now well established. It's not a new thing. It's been around for a while, and RIST is the upcoming protocol that everybody should be using. RIST is available natively in all Cobalt compression devices. So if you buy a Cobalt encoder or decoder, you got RIST already. But you may also have some legacy third-party devices that may not have support for RIST. Some devices that would you like to connect that to the internet, but you don't have RIST. So SafeLink is the solution for that. It's a gateway. What it does is it receives unprotected streams over UDP or RTP adds RIST protection for transmission over the internet. And then another SafeLink on the other side will receive that RIST and regenerate UDP or RTP. And that's available as an OpenGear card or a software package. So what are the features of this SafeLink Gateway? It supports up to 8 simultaneous streams. Each stream is a receive and transmit, right? So it's a legacy or RIST receive, connect to a legacy or RIST transmit. And when you are transmitting, you can replicate that to reach up to 8 simultaneous destinations. This is per stream. You have support for primary and backup inputs per stream. So, and they don't even need to have the same content. It's a failover kind of thing. We have something that's very, very important, which is multi-link support per stream, just like the compression products. Multi-link is using multiple links in parallel to send that stream. And there's 2 modes of that. One is bonding, where you combine those multiple links into a higher bandwidth link. So you split the stream, and then the receiving side puts it together. The other seamless switching is essentially, not essentially, is exactly Sept 2022-7, where you send redundant copies for glitchless failover. So what is supported in the SafeLink Gateway? We support RIST-simple profile with multi-link and RTT echo support. RTT echo is a way for you to find out the latency. We support RIST main profile baseline level with the tunneling and keep alive features. And we support RIST main profile DTLS level, which adds encryption and certificate-based authentication. And I'll do a little review, not a lot, but a little review of that in a minute. All right. You can get that on OpenGear. So it's based on the Cobalt OGPC. You see the picture over there. It uses 4 slots in the chassis because of the wider rear I/O. And in the back, you have 2 gigabit Ethernet ports. So there's an extra gigabit Ethernet in the chassis midplane. And then you have 2 USB 2 and 2 USB 3 ports, which we can use to support additional Ethernets with external USB to Ethernet. There's an M2 drive here for boot. It's an SSD, and approximate capacity is 500 megabits per second. It's really 800, but we are engineers and we commit to 500. It uses a 4-core Intel processor. So the review I promised you for RIST. RIST is divided in profiles. You start with simple profile, which is basically RTP, right? So RIST is compatible with non-RIST systems fundamentally because it just uses RTP as the base protocol. And then you use packet recovery using NAC-based ARQ. So basically, it's not rocket science. It's been around since the 60s. If you're receiving okay, don't say anything. If you miss anything, you ask, and that gets retransmitted. It's very bandwidth efficient, and the main thing is a tunnable trade-off between latency and protection. If you have a good network, you can have low latency. If you have a bad network, you can increase the latency by allowing multiple retransmissions, and then you get more protection. And that supports both IP multi-link and IP multicast. Then we have main profile, which is a new feature of the RIST gateway. The 3 main things of main profile are encryption. So if you have good content, it needs to be protected. So encryption is content protection. Authentication, which goes hand in hand with encryption, but is independent. If you're connecting somewhere on the internet to send or receive a stream, you need to make sure that it's not an imposter. So authentication makes sure of that. And then tunneling. Tunneling is what keeps you in the good graces of your IT department. Instead of having to open multiple ports, with tunneling, you just use one UDP port and you can send everything in that UDP port. So you could have a SafeLink gateway to all 8 streams of the SafeLink gateway on one UDP port if you needed that, and your IT people are going to love you for that. For security, quick overview. You have AES-128 and 256 with individual encryption suites can be enabled or disabled. And why 128 and 256? Because 256 is not necessarily legal everywhere in the world. So if you leave the device alone, and it's going to go to 256, but if you're using 256, it will land you in jail. You just turn that off, because we don't want our customers in jail. And for authentication is certificate-based authentication. There's a full presentation on that, which I'm not going to go through, but it's just the same kind of authentication that your bank uses. And we make it very easy for you to use any Cobalt devices as a certificate authority. All right, that's it for SafeLink. Have any questions? Again, stop us anytime. Let's talk about,
please, if anyone has questions about SafeLink, this is a great time to ask questions.
all right. As Susanna said, if you want clarification on something, stop me. Anybody can unmute. This is not a webinar. It's not a Zoom in webinar mode. You can always unmute and ask. All right. Let's move on to Sept 2110, our Indigo 2110 solution. That's how it looks like. It's a factory installed option for the 9904 UDX 4K and the 9905 MPX video processors. So you have these processing cards that normally take SDI in and SDI out, and you add this data card over here. Not you, we do it in the factory, and then now you have 2110. So it adds Sept 2110 inputs and outputs to the processing cards. So now, besides all the SDI inputs that you had before, you now have 2110 inputs and outputs. So you can operate it as a gateway, you can do all the processing, all of that. So it looks like this. You have two 25 gig Ethernets in why 25 gig? Because you need to have 25 gig to support 4K, or quad 3G, you need 25 gig. In fact, you need 12 gig. So next interface up is 25. So we have two 25 gigs. And why two? Because of Sept 22-7 redundancy, if you want to use that. So in the 9905, you have on the other side 4 SDIs up to 3G, and in the 9904, you have 4K support, up to 4K support. So this guy does 4 streams. This guy does 1 stream that can go to 4K. The cool thing, we have full support for NMOS ISO4, ISO5. So you drop that into your network, it gets discovered and can be controlled by whatever network controller you have. You have native 2110 functionality to the audio and video processing elements. It's the same functionality. And there's no quality compromises. Since you put a data card, you don't use processing power in the device itself, the 2110. So there are no compromises on that. Now, since we're talking about this 9904, 9905, I think it's worth talking about the functionality. Now let Chris talk about the 9904. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Cyril. So I will mention or discuss this product. This is relatively not a new product. We've had this for some time now. But what is very neat about this product is that we've been adding a lot of support for new features, including what Cyril just discussed, the 2110. This is still what we consider the flagship of our different processing platforms that we carry within Cobalt. So over the years, we've done pretty well within the HD 3G domain. Now we're escalating to 4K, 12G, Quad 3G, and this is the platform for doing all that. As you can see in the block diagram, there's a lot of support for many standard features that most users require in any typical workflow. With the exception that you see listed in the blue writing, these are options that you can add to this platform at any time. And as you know, as you notice here on the right side of the description here, we now support level B, which is something that has been added because over time, a lot of our customers wanted to combine both level A, level B in any typical production. So this now facilitates being able to uniquely keep all that processing in the same car without having to go to external devices and then convert back to our 9904 UDX platform for doing all that. And then, as you see here, we have four inputs. If you connect all four, you can basically select any of those for 12G, which is with the maximum that you can do with this car is one path. So it can be one path of SD, HD, 3G, or 12G. Or you can combine different inputs to have a quad 3G and then convert that to either 3G, 12G, or SD if needed. Along with that, we also have an SFP capable backplane port that allows you to have fiber, but you can also use that in conjunction with any other existing IP that's not 4K if needed with the 2110 or 2022, the older version of that. And then this also incorporates some HDMI support, whether it's on the input or the output, depending on what the rear IO backplane that you use. This can easily accommodate having HDMI input or output, and you can have either the regular 2-wide rear IO or the quad. Again, depending on what the requirements are, that'll give you a little more flexibility or take away any functionality. But the beauty is that in some cases, most customers may have one or two rear IOs, and then they just swap them out depending on what the application is for that moment. And then on top of that, as you see here, there's a variety of different licenses that can be activated. So you can have, for example, you can have color correction, logo. In this particular platform, you have 3D LUTs that can be added, plus all the HDR functionality that a lot of other devices now have. You can also activate within this. And then you can easily process Dolby, whether it's encoding or decoding, shuffling up, mixing, doing all that. This is easily supported within this platform. So it's a very robust, very functional tool that can be easily spun up to do just about anything from what you see here in this block diagram. Next one. And then this other, the 9905 MPX, very similar to the 9904, but in this scenario, now we have the density of 4 channels. These 4 channels are basically fully independent from one another. The flexibility within this is that you have 4 discrete channels that you can process inbound and outbound signals. They're all within the same card, but it's limited as a default configuration, limited to only 3G. So you can have 4 3G signals that you can process, but you still have all the advantages of the license options and the functionality that you get with the up-down cross conversion within 3G. But by default, this particular platform comes with a 3D LUT package already enabled. So you can, out of the box, basically start processing your 3D LUTs, doing some of that conversion without having to activate any license. What is really also unique about this is that the same thing that we offer with the 9904, having the SFP cage, having the HDMI, this is all, again, supported within this platform. So you can have a very dense configuration where you have, let's say up to 10 cards in a 20, slot frame in a truck or in a fly pack or whatever. Now you have a lot of density for doing just about any type of, workflow or requirement that somebody, a customer, somebody may ask you for. What is also very unique with this, similar to the 9904, is that at the same time of doing your up and down cross conversion, you can also mix or de-embed or embed your audios, whether they're AES or MADI, or you can take from the embedded audios in the per SDI path. You can also extract some of those audios, spit them out through either AES or MADI, and then do all your shuffling, your adjustments and all that within the same platform without having to go to an external device for doing that. Again, this is the 9905 MPX. Also supports what Sarah just discussed, the ability to adapt 2110 to this, and that also applies for the 9904.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Now that we all know what the 9904 and 9905 are, we're going to talk about Dante, which is a new thing. So we, back at NAB, we announced this. We added the Dante option for the 9904, which was a 16 by 16. That allows us to call it a 32 channels because it's 16 in, 16 out. So that was introduced at NAB. It's shipping. It's an optional firmware license for the 9904 with 16 channels, 16 Dante input, 16 Dante output, and uses the Ethernet port of the card. So everything else the card does, you can do that together with Dante. So what's new? What's new is the Dante option for the 9905 MPX. And that makes it a very, very nice audio processing box. That's what's new here. So as you can see, the 9905 has got, it's a four-path video processing card, but you have a very, very sophisticated audio mixer and router. It's not just a router, it's a mixer. You can do arbitrary mixing here. So in this mixer, we'll take all the 16 audio embeds from each one of the 4 SDI inputs. It has up to 8 AES inputs, depending on the IO panel that you have. You have a MADI input, and now we are adding 64 channels of Dante into this router. And then you do whatever you want here with your routing and mixing and whatever you want. And then on the output, you can also embed 16 channels, not necessarily the same. Anything that you've done here, you can embed it out into the 4 SDIs. You have up to 8 AES outputs. This is basically has 8 AES that you can configure as input and output. Each AES will bring you a stereo pair. It's got a MADI output, and now you have also 64 Dante outputs. So you can basically do any audio mixing that you want here. We keep pounding video. This is a video processor. This is also a very, very nice audio processor. You can do down mix. You can do any sort of arbitrary mixing. You want to take 3 channels from here, 4 channels from there, and mix them. Be my guest. It's all there. Very, very flexible. It's something that I don't think we advertise enough, but it's a very, very nice feature of this device. And now it does all of that plus Dante, and everything that Dante comes in and out is available for that. So that's new for IBC, and will be in the show floor. Any questions on that? All right, so let's look at
there's a question. Is there a control surface available to work with the mixer capability?
Well, at the moment, the controls is through to dashboard. So it's the control surface is dashboard.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else on that?
Yes, I have one question about colorimetry, about this video processing. Does these cards provide, do these cards provide the colorimetry changing? For example, if we make up conversion from HD up to UHD, we have to change the Rec 709 into Rec 2020, for example. Is it provided by this card, or we have to use another device to do this?
The card will do that for you.
Okay.
And in fact, there's some options which are licensable. You can add depending if you're working in the 3G or 4K domain.
Okay. There's
Okay, thank you.
One more question. Is level A also supported?
Yes.
How about Dolby E encoding and decoding?
Dolby encoding and decoding is available for the 9904 with the optional DSP card. It's not available in the 9905.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. There are no more questions. We're going to go into reversible ITM, which is something we're going to have on display in at IBC. So what is this thing of reversible ITM? All right. So if you're doing HDR, very often you're going to have to integrate SDR content. You have some stored, you have some old stuff that's in SDR. So it's a fact of life for the foreseeable future that you're going to have to ingest SDR. So best thing you can do for yourself is do the whole production in HDR. So you should convert SDR to HDR for consistent production. So conversion is done by something called inverse tone mapping, or ITM. Now, Technicolor, our partner, has something called intelligent mapping, is also ITM, which is a form of inverse tone mapping, but it is better. It's dynamic conversion based on scene analysis. You can do static ITM by just mapping colors, but this is dynamic conversion based on scene analysis. I want to say something about that in more detail. So you have SDR, you want HDR out of that. The information just isn't there. To the original HDR information just isn't there. It's just like you're taking a black and white thing and you want it in color, just isn't there. It could be made up, but it isn't there. So normally you would get a colorist to do that for you. What the intelligent tone management from Technicolor is what the colorist does. Basically, it was an algorithm trained by colorists that looks at scene by scene and does the best possible, so it looks right. That's essentially the deal with that stuff. Okay, so now when let's say you do all of that, you get your HDR and you produce and you cut and you splice and you do whatever it is that you're doing. Now you're going to emit that. The good option for emission is SL-HDR1, which is basically you take that HDR, bring it back to SDR, and add metadata to map it back to HDR. So why do you do that? Because now you have a signal that's compatible with both SDR receivers and HDR receivers. If it's HDR, if it's an HDR receiver or decoder, it will use the metadata and recover the HDR. If it's a legacy consumer, if you will, or TV or whatever, it will just play the SDR. So what is coming out is SDR plus metadata. So now we get to the reversible part. For SDR content, you started with SDR, you end up with SDR. That SDR was inverse tone map to HDR, you did stuff, and then you use SL-HDR1 and you have SDR again plus metadata. So reversible means that it's exactly the same. Exactly the same as the input SDR. Why do you want that? Because you don't want any changes on that, but you still want the best possible HDR that you can get. So that's what's reversible ITM. And then you can tweak your HDR without making any changes to the SDR. So that's the big deal about that. So this is what you're going to be seeing in the at the boot, right? We have an SDR source that is an inverse tone map, use the Technicolor process to HDR, and you're going to see that in all its glory over here. And then we're going to map it to SL-HDR1, which is an emission format, and then you're going to have SDR over here and SDR over here, and we're going to throw that in the multi-view, and you're going to see that exactly the same. So that will be the HDR, there will be the SDR in and out. So that's the demo you're going to be seeing at IBC if you come see us, which I hope you will. All right. If there are no questions on that, let's do a quick review of this OGPC, which is something we've had for a while, but we decided to highlight today so people know sometimes it's necessary to have a refresher. All right. So many times you need a PC somewhere. A PC in your OpenGear frame, you need a PC in your installation. The OGPC is an x86 in OpenGear form factor. So you have that OpenGear frame, you need a PC in that rack, instead of going and buying some PC or some tower or some rack mount PC, you can just slide in a card in your OpenGear frame. You have a PC. So it takes a double wide I/O panel. It's powered by the OpenGear frame, and it's just like in your old OpenGear card. You have an M2 SSD for the OS, and you have a choice of Windows 7 embedded, Windows 10 IoT, or no OS. You put install your own OS, which is usually Linux. People are going to do that. And that's very important. The reset, power off, and sleep functions are available on dashboard. So if you pull that card out on dashboard, you can reboot it, independent of the OS being crashed or not crash, or whatever it is that the OS is doing. You can pull it out on dashboard and reboot it if you want, or reset it. So this is what it looks like. You have here's the OS is an M-2 SSD. You have a second slot for a second M-2 SSD if you want it. It comes from Cobalt with only one. You got 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, 2 USB ports, an HDMI display port, and a serial port in case you need that stuff. It's a Pentium N3710 at 1.6 gigahertz, is a 4-core, and it's one of those Pentiums that goes variable clock rate. Comes out with 8 gigabit of DDR3, and there's another gigabit Ethernet in mid-plane. The output is 4K at 30. And you have an option for a dual RAID card. So it's a second card if you want rotating disks or big SSDs, you can have a second RAID card. And it's a relatively low power. It goes between 48 watts to 58 watts with dual hard disks. And again, those will be rotating disks. So we're bringing this up again to give you a reminder that sometimes you're putting a big installation. I need a PC to control this and that. You can just slide it in an OpenGear slot and have your PC there. It's a decent PC. All right. Any questions on that? Let's go into product updates. This has been shipping for a while, but we haven't really shown it at trade shows because of COVID, right? It is a very cool product, the BBG 1300 FR. It's an 1 RU high, third of RU wide OpenGear frame. So it is a way of you making any OpenGear card from any vendor, actually. It doesn't even need to be from Cobalt, and make it portable. You just need a card, just need a function, you need to carry it somewhere. Just get one of those. It slides right in. You use the standard IO panel. It has 2 slots if you have a split rear. And there you go. As long as you have a card that takes no more than 2 slots and can be installed in an OpenGear chassis, you can put that in. So same things, front panel control. There's a nice front panel, and has everything, SNMP onboard networking, dashboard, and everything. So, and I'm gonna turn it over to Chris to show a nice application of that. Chris.
Okay, thanks, Jerome. So yeah, so what Jusir just discussed, with this BBG 1300, this is in fact a full-blown OpenGear frame. Just what you see there is a smaller form factor for anybody that's limited with space, whether, let's say, in your racks, all you have is it's a 1 RU max capacity in a 19-inch rack, then that would certainly suit the best fit ever for that. And then just now discussing exactly what else can we offer with this. So we've been actually thinking about, this portability of the BBG 1300 with our most dense now processor, which is a 9905 MPX. Now we can offer a customer a complete, 3G solution with full frame sync. And being able to offer, for example, because the 9905 comes with the standard 3D LUT support, we can, for example, be able to take a Sony S-Log and convert that to something else using that 3D LUT capability. We can also do, take a 2K level B, signal and then use that same card with this portability to create something else out of that. Also being able to manage your typical studio production signals, such as something that's level A, and being able to use that for my in-house production as well, including being able to process any BBC LUTs, again, because this by default has a 3D support capability. So that's one other advantage of having this system do that. And then being able to flip one of the other sources to a 3D LUT output, with the ability to work with LiveGrid or one of the other Wonderlook softwares. We can also do that. Plus, again, with the HDMI output, we can also output a corrected output and also have an HD SDI or 3G SDI with frame sync to my multiviewer or my destination. And then I can also feed out of this same platform. I can feed a let's say in this example, a 720p with frame sync for my encoding, for my contribution or whatever I'm doing with that. So again, in this portable configuration, I have a system that easily can be used anywhere, whether it's a truck, anywhere. And I have a full, 4 pads, which we just discussed with the 9905, full AES, NATI, and then as Sarah just mentioned, Dante now. And then I can do all my up-down cross conversion, do all my 3D LUT processing and supporting from SD all the way through 2K with this particular configuration. So if you go to the next slide. So if we were to look at exactly where would this configuration fit, I would say you can easily bring it into a broadcast center. You can easily use it in post-production. We have a lot of customers using it in that scenario. Now we're seeing a growth in mobile production applications with this. And then we also have customers that are using this on an onset, like a set where they use this sort of functionality with very limited space. As you can see that I actually took that picture of a customer that wants to reduce that sort of rack space to a smaller configuration. And this BBG 1300 with the 9905 MPX sort of allows a customer or anyone to be able to utilize all the functionality of this processing power, but in a smaller footprint. So this is sort of where this fits. Now we have, this 9905 MPX with the BBG 1300. You can say this is our standalone solution for many of these applications, and still being able to drive all those different features and functionality without missing anything in a smaller package that has still the same, punch and power as anybody would expect from a system like this, whether it's a traditional open gear or something else, but in a smaller package like what we have here. So this just to keep in, just an open mind as to what can be possible with this. This is just to illustrate that point as to different application scenarios for this combination.
Thank you, Chris. Since we're doing a little product review, let's talk about the encoder capabilities. This is just to remind you guys what it can do. We have basically three sets of encoders, and this is showing the video and audio capabilities. So you have the 9223 encoder that is just a 264 4208-bit encoder that can do up to 2 channels, all the way up to the 9992 encoder that checks all the boxes here. MPEG 2, 264, 265, 422, 420, 8-bit, 10-bit, and can do up to 4K or 4 HDs. And this is also a very interesting line here in terms of the audio support. Our latest encoder can do pretty much all those audios. So see, MPEG 1 layer 2 and AAC, everybody has to do that, but it also does surround, and very important, AAC surround. So if you don't want to pay for Dolby, you can do AAC surround, or even HEAC surround. If you want Dolby, we have also Dolby stereo and surround, including EAC3. And if you're looking for low latency and you don't mind using more bitrate for audio, we have LPCM. This is Sept 302M support. Similar matrix for decoders, we have the original 9990 DEC, which is a 4208-bit decoder, which goes all the way to 1080i, only a single channel decoder. And then we have a new 4K decoder that's either 4K or 2 HD channels. And as you can see, it checks all the boxes. Now, what is really cool in this new decoder is again, the audio support. It decodes very close to everything, right? MPEG-1 layer 2, both stereo and surround for AAC, HE, Dolby. And I want to highlight something here. This 9992 decoder also decodes Dolby AC4 and Dolby E. So you can take a transport stream that has Dolby E and we'll decode that to PCM. So very, very flexible decoder. This is been shipping for a while, but we wanted to remind you that we have all this capability. All right, so we haven't stood still in encoders and decoders. So let me talk to you about some new things that those are all available now, right? We have in the encoder a built-in frame sync support. So and that's included for free. That's not a paid option. It's already there. The encoder can continue encoding on loss of video. So if video goes away, you can freeze to a color or freeze to the last good frame. Another very good thing is metadata auto configuration from VPID. So if you want to have a proper signal, you need to indicate colorimetry and transfer characteristics in the metadata of both MPEG 264 and 265. They all have that in the metadata. Now, we took the guesswork out of that for you. If your signal has proper VPID, you check one box, and then we set that all that up automatically from VPID. And if VPID changes, if your signal is properly marked and it changes, we're going to change the metadata for you. Something new that just came in is OP47 subtitle support. And there's a new model. It's a marketing package that has a lower entry cost to 4K. So lower cost is always better. And all these cars they've had forever, but a mid-plane gigabit Ethernet is now enabled. So it's a lot faster to both upgrade them and bring them up in BBG 1300, OG3, and OGX. That's for the encoder. What happens to the decoder? The decoder, the 9992, has now a very good built-in up-down cross converter. So it can convert any resolution and frame rate to any other resolution and frame rate with a decent quality. So, and that's again, you get a UDX there for free. It's included. Same thing, automatic VPID configuration for metadata. It's the inverse of the encoder. It takes a transport stream, is decoding that, and will read the metadata and set the VPID for you automatically if you want. Or you can override that. The OP47 support is there as well, and the mid-plane gigabit interface is now enabled as well. So makes it very fast to upgrade those things. Chris, can you talk about this new BBG EO?
Yeah, so we have, as you see here, actually Cobalt has been known for in the past, for having these little throwdown boxes that are very functional. A lot of people depend on these for very, particular applications in mobile or just about anywhere where they need to extend a signal or last minute add something. In our case, we're offering this, a new sort of version of our fiber transport throwdown boxes, but now sort of, you can say, updated for 12G. So anything that we've had in the 3G domain, now we support this with this particular new platform, the BBG EO for 12G. Again, supporting very similar functionality as the 3G. with support for ASI and also MADI transport. Now, supporting up to 4K with this little box. We offer these in the electrical to optical configuration with support for ST, LC, and FC connectors. These, by standard, they come with the 5-year warranty, and they also can be configured using a very sort of functional tool that you adapt to this through the USB port that these have to be able to monitor and configure some of the functionality of this little box, similar to other BBG 3000s that we have. And what is very unique about this is that we're also sharing a lot of the development that we do on the open gear cards, but now bringing it to the smaller platform. So again, you're not missing anything else in terms of quality, but rather, we're just enhancing these drawdowns in the case of this one to give users, some of our customers, the same functionality, but in a smaller footprint. And then next slide. So similar to the electrical to optical, now we also support the optical to electrical. So if you want to have the pair for any given application, now you have this solution that we offer that can be mated to be used, like I said, in a remote, very specific environment where you may not have the luxury to have a full-blown open gear frame, and you can have this and not worry about quality loss or any issues with the reliability of the device working properly. So again, you can easily find these on our website. You can ask any of the sales guys at Cobalt, and they can easily give you pricing and more information on this. And you can also call to request a demo if you need to validate what we're seeing here and validate the quality and performance in your application.
All right, thank you, Chris. And that's it. That's what we wanted to tell you about. Thank you for your attention, and open to any questions now. Don't be shy.
Yes. No questions. Encoders, decoders, SafeLink, Indigo, the new Indigo, any?
Well, you can always, oh, there's something in the chat. Let's see. Okay. Thank you all. You can always reach us, sales@cobaltdigital.com, or our personal emails are also okay.
We will be sending you all a link of this session that will be posted on the YouTube channel sometime this week. So you all receive a link if you want to watch or forward this to other coworkers or customers. Please feel free to do so. And we're really, really looking forward to meeting, if hopefully all of you at some point at IBC next week.